Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to another episode of the Cubs on Tap podcast. My name is Rich Eberwine, and I will be your host today as we, uh, you know, try to make sense of what we just watched. The Cubs just gave up first place to the Milwaukee Brewers in pretty ugly fashion, and I am here to do my best to uh, make the pain go away. I'm here for you guys. As long as you're here for me, bear with me. This is my first solo hosting job. I don't know who thought it was a good idea, but here I am. So if anything looks or sounds weird, please let me know in the comments, and I appreciate that. I'll do everything I can to make it not look or sound jank, but yeah, like I said, we're here to break down this Brewers series, which was just horrendous. Colin Ray didn't have his best showing today on the mound for the Cubs. 4 innings, 8 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk. Wasn't able to get into the 5th inning. Not great. And the Brewers were, their usual annoying selves. It was like a death by 1,000 cuts. They were grinding at bats. They were getting, their patented chintzy little hits. There was a lot of ground balls just past like diving defensemen. They were getting a lot of traffic, moving the extra 90 feet, sack bunts, sack flies, all the little plays that the Brewers are good at. Unfortunately, I hate to admit. And then they had a big blast off the bat of Andrew Vaughn, who is kind of one of those guys that I put into the bucket of, this guy is good as long as he's not on a bad team like the White Sox. He's finding his stroke with Milwaukee, and it's super annoying, but what are you going to do? Yeah, the Cubs made a lot of sloppy mistakes too on defense, which was annoying. A couple of balls that should have been caught, there was one that it was hit to Pete Crow Armstrong. I think it was off the bat of Christian Yelich that kind of just shot out of his glove, which was weird. And another one that Nico Horner had that just it looked like somebody pulled a string and the ball just flew out of his glove. Like this shit just happens against the Brewers, and I don't know what it is. They annoy me to no end. They always consistently field a good team, and all these dudes you have no idea who they are, never heard of them in your life, will all of a sudden just pop off and have good games and just grind out at bats against the Cubs. And here we are. The Cubs just gave them first place. There's no way the Cubs are escaping this series with the Brewers not in first place. So I'm hesitant to say it was a disaster of a series because the Cubs still have a chance to salvage a game tomorrow. If they lose tomorrow, it will be a disaster. That's just not good. But I have hope. Shota Imanaga is on the mound tomorrow. But one of the Brewers' aces, Freddie Peralta, will also be pitching. So it's not going to be easy. Never really is against the Brewers. I just kind of wanted to touch on yesterday's game a little bit too. Another loss, an 8-4 loss where the Cubs offense just didn't really show up. The only good inning was the first inning yesterday, which was mostly because of Jacob Mizorowski's mistakes. Brewers starting pitcher, the Cubs scored 3 runs, but one of them was off a wild pitch that Mizorowski threw, and then 2 more runs scored on a throwing error that Mizorowski was fielding a ground ball that Seiya Suzuki slapped off of his leg, and he threw the ball into the dugout. So that was like the best inning the Cubs had all of these last 2 games because they're doing that thing that they like to do where they get a lot of runners in scoring position, but nobody drives them in. That happened a few times in today's game. They had a lot of good scoring chances and just couldn't come up with a big hit. And then another one of those chintzy plays that the Brewers just kind of got lucky on was when Reese McGuire had 2 outs and there was 2 men on. I believe they're both in scoring position, and he grounds this ball, and the umpires said it was a fair ball, and it was not. It was a foul ball, but they ruled it a fair ball and threw him out. And the home plate umpire had no idea what he was doing. Like it was just one of those plays where like uh it was like, what is happening? That was clearly a foul ball, and they just the home plate umpire was like, nah, I'm not even gonna ask the other umpires what happened. But it's like, dude, it was clearly a foul ball. You should just annoying stuff. Annoying stuff. Not seeing the comments. I don't know if you guys are able to leave comments right now. Oh, here we go. Brandon says a complete meltdown. I agree. It was not great. It's like their heads were not in the game from Christopher. Yep, I agree. There was a lot of bad at bats by the Cubs. Dansby Swanson had a few. Everybody was kind of cooking him on Twitter. I think the one that made me the most angry was in the 5th inning when Matt Shaw doubled, Kyle Tucker walked, and then Seiya Suzuki instantly grounded into a double play. Like he didn't even. I think it was on the first pitch of the at bat. That one really sent me over the edge a little bit. I was like, man, can you at least make the guy work a little bit? Man, what are you gonna do? It's just one of those things. What are you gonna do? Gotta just try to salvage the game tomorrow, escape Milwaukee with a win. If you win tomorrow, you'll be 1 game behind them for the division, and you go from there. What are you gonna do? You gotta just keep grinding. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the other thing I wanted to touch on in this game was Ryan Presley's performance. Um, I think we're getting to the point where Ryan Presley really shouldn't be on this team anymore. I went back right before I started the show and looked at his game logs. The man has had 10 clean innings in a Cub uniform this year out of 44 games that he's pitched in. I mean, he is the most unclutch pitcher on this team by far, and he's been horrible the last few games. He has not been able to lock down even a low leverage situation. It's you know the trade deadline's coming up here in less than 48 hours. There haven't been a lot of big moves. The Cubs need to make some big moves, man. There are some players on this team that shouldn't be on the team anymore. Ryan Presley is one of them. Vidal Brujan is another one. That man has a WRC plus below 50. For those who don't know, WRC plus is, kind of an all-encompassing hitting stat that 100 is the average, and his is below 50. That's really, really bad. I don't really quite understand why Brujan is even still on the team. Uh, they could have DFA'd him and called up a guy named Ben Cowles a long time ago if they wanted to. Ben Cowles was the guy that they got last year at the trade deadline. I think it was the deal with when they sent Mark Leiter Jr. to the Yankees. Ben Cowles is already on the 40-man roster too, so it could just be a 1-for-1 swap. He's kind of a utility guy who can play third base in the outfield and is fast. Not like a great bat, but like neither is Vidal Brujan. Vidal Brujan is basically an instant out these days. He's not giving you a competitive at bat. I guess nobody really is in the Cubs offense right now. They have a lot of slumping players. Kyle Tucker and Seiya Suzuki and Swanson are all kind of slumping right now. Bush is too. But yeah, they need to retool, I think, the bench a little bit at this deadline. I would like to see, last week when I was on with Joey and Ron, Joey was bringing up Ahmed Rosario. That would have been nice. Unfortunately, he got traded to the Yankees over the weekend. So yeah, I don't know who else is out there, but a bench bat would be nice, or trading for Eugenio Suarez and then moving Matt Shaw to the bench, or maybe Ian Happ to the bench too. Something's got to give here. Like they got to retool a little bit, because there's a couple of guys, John Birdie and Vidal Brujan, are just kind of useless at the plate, and it's not going to work. You can't make a deep playoff run with guys like that are just instant outs. So that's kind of one of the things that they need to address at this year's deadline. Like I said, that's coming up in less than 48 hours, and we haven't really had a ton of big trades in general. I guess the biggest trade was the Yankees acquiring Ryan McMahon from the Rockies. He's another one of those guys in the Andrew Vaughn category that I think can be good on a team that is not the Rockies. He's already got 4 hits and 9 at bats for the Yankees, so interesting stuff. Brewers pitching overmatched the Cubs pitching. Yeah, I think that's kind of true. Especially when you take into account the fact that they have 3 aces essentially. Jacob Mizorowski is emerging as an ace. Freddie Peralta as an ace. If Brandon Woodruff keeps pitching the way he has since he's come back from his shoulder injury, he's like a third ace. And the Cubs have Shota and Matt Boyd. And I guess their third best pitcher would be Jamison Tyone when he's healthy, but he is not due back until mid-August at some point. He threw a 40-pitch bullpen session, I think today, though. So that's a good sign. It seems like he's on track to be getting healthy soon. Hopefully he'll be pitching a little bit better than he was. But yeah, they need another starter, the Cubs do, because going into a playoff series with Jamison Tyone as your third starter, I don't think that's going to work that well. And, Matthew Boyd got kind of cooked by the Brewers yesterday, didn't have his best outing. Just a really bad series for a guy like Matthew Boyd to have a 5 earned run game. Tucker to continue to kind of slump, Suzuki to kind of like they needed to show up this series, and they did not. They already dropped 2. It's not the end of the world. I'm not gonna like doomsday right now. Like they're only 2 games back in the division. They could only be 1 game back by tomorrow, and that's just kind of what happens. Like it's a 162 game season, and they still have a 5-game series at Wrigley against the Brewers coming up in the middle of August. So the season is far from over, and there's going to be additions at the trade deadline, I think. So we're not in horrible shape, but it's not great. Okay. Hector Neris 2.0. I think you're talking about Ryan Pressly. Need a number 3 starter badly. Yeah, definitely need a number 3 starter. I would love to see Joe Ryan or Edward Cabrera from the Marlins. Those are my 2 favorites. Bruron sucks. Speed. Has speed. Turner needs to be asked about being a coach. Yeah, it would be kind of nice if the Cubs could just DFA Justin Turner and like hire him as an assistant to Jed Hoyer or something, so he's still in the clubhouse. Because he's basically just the hype man for the clubhouse, which is just fine. You need guys like that who who are veterans who have been to the postseason a bunch of times, and to coach up a guy like Matt Shaw. Turner played third base for a long time, and Turner and PCA are like BFFs. But yeah, it's unless he's hitting against lefties, he's Turner's not great. Cubs need to make a trade for starting pitcher and reliever. Yeah, they could use at least 1 reliever. Because right now, after they DFA'd Chris Flexen, which is another thing I wanted to hit on, I was a little surprised by that. Flexen has been kind of shaky over the last week or so, but I didn't expect them to just DFA him off the cuff like that, and then just call up Gavin Hollowell, who, Hollowell is fine, but he's not like I wouldn't categorize him as a high leverage reliever. We saw him in the game today, but yeah. So right now the Cubs have Brooks Kriske and Gavin Hollowell in the bullpen. Another guy who has closing experience would be nice to add to this bullpen. Maybe like a Raisel Iglesias from the Atlanta Braves or Kyle Finnegan from the Nationals. I'd like to see one of those guys. Add him to the mix, and then Porter Hodge should be coming back soon. He has closing experience. And yeah, they need at least 1 more bullpen addition, in my opinion, because what if Daniel Palencia is unavailable or he gets hurt? God forbid. You need more depth there, more quality depth, better than Ryan Pressly, because right now Ryan Pressly is incapable of pitching in like the 6th inning, let alone the 9th inning. So yeah, I need some bullpen arms, new bullpen arms, please. Cubs stars have not played like stars. Yeah, recently for sure. Kyle Tucker, I think him and Suzuki have like 4 RBIs over the last 2 weeks. That's just not going to cut it, man. Drew Pomerantz should be waiting for the same Uber that Presley's in. Yeah, Pomerantz has been kind of regressing as well over the last couple of weeks, which has kind of stunk. Yeah, the last 15 games, he has a 5.73 ERA. That's not great. That's not going to cut it either. Yeah, like I said, could use a couple more bullpen arms. Porter has been really bad. Something isn't right. What did Porter Hodge do today? I don't know. I think he was supposed to pitch for the Iowa Cubs today. I don't know how he did, but if they can get him back right like he was last year, that would be nice because he was like the de facto closer for a good amount of time last year. So I'm not totally like ready to jettison Porter Hodge. I think he still has, value that he can give to this team. He's got good velocity and a really good slider. He's proven to be a good high leverage arm at times, and he's just gotten some raw luck this year, I think, and then he got hurt. So not ready to give up on Porter Hodge. Oh, he had 5 earned runs in a third of an inning. Okay. Yeah, that's not good. Well, get it together, Porter. I was just defending you. Okay. One thing I wanted to touch on before we go ahead and talk about like the trade deadline a little bit more was Ryne Sandberg. Rest in peace to Ryne Sandberg, a true legend in the Chicago Cubs organization. Full disclosure, Ryne Sandberg retired from playing a year before I was born, so I was not like able to watch him play when he was on the Cubs. But I have like inherited my fandom of Ryne Sandberg and guys like Sammy Sosa and stuff. My mom is a really diehard Cubs fan, and her dad was a diehard Cubs fan. So like, I understand the prowess and the legendness of Ryne Sandberg, and I was doing a lot of research about him over the last couple of days after the news of his passing, and it's just kind of incredible that the Cubs had a kind of player like that. He kind of broke into the league or like made a name for himself in that 1984 season where he won an MVP, and that's when the famous Ryne Sandberg game happened where he hit 2 home runs against Bruce Sutter. And, that kind of propelled the Cubs into like a new era because for the last 39 years before that, they had not made the playoffs. And they had good teams in those years at times, with Ernie Banks and Ron Santo and Fergie Jenkins, all Hall of Famers too. This was before the wild card expansion to the playoffs. So you had to win a division to, play October baseball, and the Cubs hadn't done it for nearly 4 decades before Ryne Sandberg got to the Cubs. They won 96 games in 1984 based on, him driving the offense, and it was a very pivotal season for the organization that kind of, ushered in this new era of the Cubs competing in the 80s and 90s. And, that season kicked off him winning 10 straight or making 10 straight All-Star game appearances and winning 9 straight Gold Glove awards. He won, I think it was 6 Silver Slugger awards. He was just a badass on the field. Just so solid and steady and incredible defender, base runner, hit for power, hit for like he did it all, man. It's really impressive. He was a true Hall of Famer and just one of the nicest guys off the field too. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say a bad word about Ryne Sandberg. Like everybody just praises how kind and generous he was. It really sucks to see him go at the age of 65 after a battle with prostate cancer. It's just too soon, man. I'm glad though he was able to see his statue get unveiled at Wrigley Field last year. And I thought that was super cool that he had a lot of input in how the statue looked, and he wanted to make sure that he was playing like defense, depicted playing defense. I think that's really awesome of him. And yeah, he got to see the Cubs win a World Series too, obviously in 2016. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to see what the Cubs can do this year. But I think he's watching wherever he is. Um, let's see. All right, I think the next thing that I wanted to pivot to was Jed Hoyer's contract extension. So, you know, it, everybody's a little teed off that that there was like Jeff Passan tweets and breaking news happening right before the trade deadline, and it was Jed Hoyer's contract extension. So people were like, "Well, we don't want to care. We don't care about him. We care about what are the Cubs getting? Are they getting a starting pitcher or whatever?" But I think this is good news. I think it was a little bit of a foregone conclusion. The Cubs probably were working on this long before they announced it. You know, uh, but it is nice to just have it set in stone that yes, Jed Hoyer will be here for the foreseeable future. We don't know exactly how long his deal is for, but I'm assuming it's somewhere around the same time. It's probably for 4 years, if I had to guess, just to match him up with Craig Counsell's contract. Um, so they I think this is good news. I don't want to see what another GM would do with this team right now. Uh, this is kind of Jed Hoyer's baby, and he's done a lot of work to turn around the Cubs pitching development in particular, uh, but also get the Cubs to this point right now where they have a competing team, a good offense. I know not recently, but if you still look over the course of the season, the Cubs have been one of the best offenses, and I think they will break out of this slump at some point. I'm holding out hope that they will. Uh, but yeah, Jed Hoyer, man, like just rebuilt this team. He made a lot of tough decisions, trading guys, trading the World Series core, and in hindsight, those were probably the better decisions. They were tough, and it sucked to see those guys get traded. But uh, other than the Kyle Schwarber non-tender, right? It was probably mostly the right decisions because it led to guys like Daniel Palencia coming to the team and Owen Casey and Kevin Alcantara and things like that. But it's kind of nice that we know for sure now that Jed Hoyer will be, ushering in this next era and continuing to grow the team that he built and see where it goes and see if they can keep a playoff window open for multiple years. I think this improves the chances that the Cubs will be aggressive at this trade deadline now that Jed Hoyer is, uh, guaranteed to be, uh, having the full control of what he's going to do or what he can do with this team and with the prospects that he's accumulated. If he wants to trade them for guys that he thinks will, you know, help the Cubs make a deep playoff run this year or for years to come, it's just kind of nice to know that he's going to be the guy making the decisions for a few more years because I feel like his work is not done. He has not gotten even a playoff run yet after the rebuild. So, it's kind of nice that we'll get to see him see this through and hopefully it works out. Hopefully the Cubs can make some noise in the playoffs this year. And yeah, I'm excited that Jed Hoyer is going to stick around because I don't really want to see what another GM will do right now. I don't think it would. I don't think it would. I don't know. I just don't. The fear of the unknown, I think, is setting in right now. But yeah, I don't know. Just kind of wanted to talk about Jed Hoyer's contract extension a little bit. I thought it was good news, and I think it increases the chances of the Cubs making a splash at this deadline. And yeah, we'll see where it goes from here. Um, what's next on tap? We got the trade deadline, obviously. Game 3 against the Brewers tomorrow. Hopefully, Shota Imanaga can outduel Freddie Peralta. Freddie Peralta kind of mowed us down last time, if I am recalling correctly. June 19th against the Cubs, 5 innings pitched, 3 earned runs. All right, so we tagged him for a little bit last time, so maybe we can do that again. And Shota can keep the ball in the yard and not give up dingers to Christian Yelich. So yeah, we got Wednesday's game tomorrow at 1:10 against the Brewers. And then Thursday will be the trade deadline at 5 o'clock Central Time, where the Cubs will hopefully acquire Joe Ryan or Edward Cabrera or Kyle Finnegan, another closer. And then over the weekend, the Cubs will play 3 games against the Baltimore Orioles, all 120 games at home. So hopefully the Cubs can stack some wins against a Baltimore Orioles team that has been pretty bad this year. That will start off a homestand, 6-game homestand against Baltimore and Cincinnati Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And yeah, the Cubs just need to keep on chugging along and don't let this Brewers series kind of derail things, because I think the stat is they have only the longest losing streak the Cubs have this year is like 2 or 3 games. So, you know, escape Milwaukee, hopefully with a win tomorrow, get back to Wrigley, play Baltimore and Cincinnati, 2 teams that you should hopefully stack some wins against, maybe win both of those series and get back on track here. Like I said, it's not doomsday scenario. We are not like season is not over. If the Cubs lose 4 out of 5 games against Milwaukee at Wrigley in 2 weeks, then I will maybe be on that train with you. But I don't think we're quite there yet. Cubs 4-17 in the last 21 games Justin Turner has played. He is dead weight. Yeah. Like I said, they need bench help. I can't really defend that. At AAA, that's where Porter Hodge gave up 5 earned runs in a third of an inning. Yeah, man. I don't know if I have much else. I'm sorry. If anybody was in here when I first started the show and had to end it because my face wasn't showing up on screen earlier, and I didn't know what to do, so I had to end it and redo everything, and I figured it out eventually. But yeah, I think I covered everything that I wanted to talk about. So quick show tonight. We wanted to get a show in just because there's so much to talk about, and pivotal series against the Brewers going on and trade deadline and stuff. But yeah, thanks for hanging in here with me while I figured things out, and hopefully I didn't bore you guys to death or anything, and hopefully I was entertaining at least a little bit. But yeah, thank you all for tuning into this episode of Cubs on Tap. Please remember to like and subscribe. Go to our Facebook page on Cubs on Tap. Like and subscribe there. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Cubs on Tap, and on Tap Sportsnet, where we will give you coverage on all things Cubs and Chicago sports. And hopefully we will have some stuff to give you in the next couple of days with this trade deadline coming up. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. FTB, fuck the Brewers, and fuck the Cardinals, and go Cubs go, baby. See you guys.